right. Okay, so the final round one has 3 minutes.
He's done before, he knows. He's choosing to go second.
Huh? Oh, you're good. The final round just has 3 minutes is all I was saying. All right, so for the final round, we have an extra minute. And for this one specifically, this was an objection picked by Kyle. So I'm a seller, we're in a listing appointment. And I say, so, how does the NAR settlement impact me as a seller? Like, does this mean I don't have to pay out commission, or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rachel. I mean, first off, a lot of people are talking about it. It's a really hot topic right now. Let me ask you this. What have you heard so far about the NAR settlement?
She touched this.
Sorry.
I'm sure.
What have you heard about the NAR settlement?
Yeah, I mean, I something about like buyers, they aren't getting commission anymore, or sellers aren't responsible for paying them. So I mean, it seems like a good opportunity for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're already here at the listing appointment. We've kind of gone over the marketing presentation. Tell me a little bit more about when you exactly would like to have this home sold.
I mean, for us, ideally by the end of the summer would be good.
End of the summer? Okay. So just to talk a little bit about NAR, most of the changes that are being implemented aren't happening until July. So depending on how quickly you want to sell your home, my honest answer is nothing would change if we're going to do it before July. After July is a little bit more of an unknown. So I guess let me ask you this. What's most important in terms of getting your home sold? What's most important?
Yeah, for us, just I want it to be a relatively quick sale. I don't want to deal with the headache of lots of open houses and all of that. I want it to happen pretty quickly, and ideally, of course, want to capitalize on as much money as we can.
Okay, amazing. And is this going to be the first time you've sold a home before?
It is. Yep. This is our first house we bought. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
Where are you heading to after?
Yeah, for us, we're actually going to be moving to Mexico.
That's awesome. Where about Mexico?
We're going to be in Mexico City.
Nice. That sounds so fun. Can I come visit?
Yeah,
Drink some margaritas together?
It'll be a good time, but.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't really want to downplay the NAR situation, but the main sentiment is really, if you are looking to make this move before July and get down to Mexico City before July, you don't have to worry about it at all. None of the changes in terms of how the buyer's agents are going to be paid is going to be taking place until July. That being said, if you're already thinking of maybe making the move after July, you can rest easy because my team is the #1 team in San Diego, and we're already working on adaptations to adjust for once those changes are implemented.
Okay.
So really, either which way you want to go, whenever you want to get your home sold, we're in San Diego. It's one of the most sought after markets in the entire country. We're going to be able to sell your home for top dollar, whether it's tomorrow or in July. So if that sounds good and you're comfortable moving forward, I think we could go ahead and sign, get your home on the market, and get you down to partying in Mexico.
All right, sounds fair enough.
Awesome. I didn't do great.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't feel good about that one.
Okay, I'll move this way. All right, so final round, 3 minutes. I'm a seller, we're at a listing appointment. And I say, I have to ask, how does the NAR settlement impact me as a seller? Like, do I have to not pay commission now? Because that seems great.
Yeah, Rachel, I totally appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, obviously, that's the big buzz in the real estate world right now. Now, before we talk about that, let's take a step back and tell me a little bit more. Remind me why you were thinking about selling in the first place.
Yeah, so we're going to be relocating. We're actually going to be moving out of the country to Mexico City.
Oh, wow, nice. What brings you out there?
Yeah, we are just ready to work remote. We're tired of paying California taxes. We have family down there, so just wanting a big change.
Great, I totally understand. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
And how soon do you want to make that happen? When do you want to be down there?
Ideally by the end of the summer.
End of the summer, gotcha. So that's coming up pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Rachel. Back, to the NAR stuff. What do you know about that settlement? Because clearly you've been doing your research on it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, kind of what the news is saying that there's no buyer's commissions now, which sounds great if I don't have to pay somebody. So I'm kind of curious how that will play out and benefit me.
Okay. So you've just been hearing that there's no buyer's commissions altogether. That's what you've heard?
I'm not really quite sure. Just like I said, that's kind of like the rumors that I've heard.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that makes sense. It's rumors. There's been a lot of buzz about it. It's a little bit different than that. Do you mind if I share with you kind of what really it means?
Please.
So basically what's going to happen is in July, which you mentioned you want to be moving by summer, so it probably won't be affecting you at all, to be completely honest. But what the settlement's doing is it's basically just taking the box in the MLS. Are you familiar with what the MLS is, the multiple listing service? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's taking that box that shows how much the seller is going to be paying the buyer's agent out of the MLS. So that doesn't mean that sellers aren't going to be necessarily paying the buyer's commission. It just means it's not going to be advertised in the same way that it was before this settlement happened. Does that make sense?
Okay, that's not, okay, interesting.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you mentioned you want to be moving by the middle of the summer, right?
Yeah, middle to end of summer would be great for us.
Exactly. This law doesn't even take place until July, and when it does, like I mentioned, it's probably not going to be a huge change to the industry. But what this law does do, or what's most important right now, is the fact that you're moving before summer, and the fact that aligning with a team who, regardless of what happens in the next few months or even after that, has a solid game plan and a solid marketing strategy to get you the most amount of money for your property and get you down to Mexico City. I mean, you would probably agree that's the most important thing outside of anything else, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I hear you. And so really, I mean, the next step is really just talking about what we do marketing, and you've seen everything that we have to offer. So do you feel confident that our team is the team that has that background and has that marketing to get you the most amount of money?
I feel
based
good
on what
about
we've
it.
talked about? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, then we'll just go ahead and sign here, and we can move forward.
Isn't
What do you know about it?
Yeah, I felt like that was pretty much went about it.
doesn't summer end in August? I feel like that's why she said the end of summer. To like, that's when I want to do it when it's gonna affect me. Yeah.
Ian's already half naked for that money anyway.
Woo, baby! How's that?
I'm not the one with the upside down pineapple shirt.
Who is? What? Yikes. This is tough. This is tough. I think that the thing that I appreciated about both of you guys was that there was no sense of backing down. There was no sense of, oh shit, like we don't fully, like there was no backpedaling. There was no, I don't really want to talk about this. Like, sure, we skirted around it a little bit to try to get to their motivation here. But I think that the setting for this, I think, is a scenario where they want a direct answer. They want to know. They want, like, you're at a listing appointment. You've already gone through all the other stuff. By this point in the conversation, you should have already known about all of those other things. And therefore, I think that just attacking the question head on was warranted. And the reason that I say that is because, Ian, I feel like you kind of danced around it a little bit. I think that maybe I'm wrong here. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but she said she wanted to sell by the end of summer. That was her goal, which is like August, September, right? So she wanted to sell on a timeline where it would affect her. And I feel like both of you kind of, and Ian a little more so, you were like, well, we'll get it sold before then, and so it won't matter. And that felt like a deflection and not so much of an actually addressing the question. I understand where you were coming from in terms of, well, let's sell it faster, but the heart of the issue was that she told you that I would love to have to not pay commissions. So like, oh, well, let's just sell it before then, so you have to pay the commissions, right? Like that's where it comes in, where it's like, I feel like that part of her objection wasn't necessarily addressed. And so I think that Andrew, you did get around to a point where you directly attacked, like, hey, here's what's going to happen. Here's a change that's coming into play. And I think that at the end of the day, I think that had you edged out for it. I think you guys were both confident. You chugged right along, but I think that, Ian, you danced around it a little bit for the setting. Like, I feel like that's an important thing here too. Like, you're at the listing appointment. They're going to make their decision from here, and so they need a straight answer. And I feel like that came through a little bit more with Andrew, so I got to go with him.
When you said that, we already know.
Okay. Both of you did, I mean, extremely well. I mean, let alone that we're in front of a room of 100 plus people and you sound so smooth, both of you. is just a feat in itself. So great job. Additionally, I feel like just looking at the amount of time that was left on the clock, I feel like, Andrew, you were a little bit more thorough in handling that objection. And first you said, well, let's take a step back. You literally said that, which really does give some time for you to think about how you're going to formulate a plan. But then two, it kind of, it lowers their guard and recenters them on what their motivation is, which is ultimately getting the most money, moving in the most convenient way, yada, yada, yada. So I think you framed that well. And then I think when the objection finally came up, you said, okay, now let's handle what your question was after you've had that kind of buildup. And then from there, you were able to say, okay, well, in July, this is what's going to happen, ... And I felt like you gave it the conversation a bit more time to mature to where you had that already built with them so that you could tackle that in a way that helped them to understand it thoroughly without just kind of touching on it. I felt like Ian just kind of touched on it more briefly in a roundabout way.
I like to talk about things I don't know about.
Thank you. I'm going to say that. That's exactly what I was just going to say. We don't know what it's going to feel like in July. I'm out there with all of you guys, and I'm starting to have these conversations. These conversations are really important, but do we know? You know, if we have to be careful when we're talking to people and we're saying this is the way it's going to be, because he was saying that, and then you said probably, and I heard it. And buyers and sellers are savvy. They hear that you're confident that it's going to be this way, and then you come back and say maybe, probably, we don't know, what is it? And they're asking experienced agents. So going in and saying we don't know, and you went very just casual about it because we don't, that's why I'm kind of back and forth. You dug in, and I like that he dug in, but I'm nervous just like everyone else. What is it going to feel like? And so I'm just stuck. I'm really, really stuck on this one because I feel like I would go down his path of like, we don't know what it's going to feel like in July. And because it was thrown out that we're going to do this at the end of the summer, I think it should have been addressed of what it's going to feel like in August, September, that time frame, not before July. So I want to give it to Andrew just because he went for it. I would just be cautious on like giving, I know for a fact.